Coming up on Close Up, Vice President Kamala Harris in Des Moines for a roundtable on reproductive rights, why she says a Texas abortion drug case could impact other medications.
And former President Donald Trump makes his first campaign visit to Iowa since announcing his re-election bid. What he says about the Iowa caucuses and his potential rival, Ron DeSantis.
And Senator Joni Ernst hosting Republican presidential candidates on American foreign policy. What effect she says the war in Ukraine could have on the GOP presidential race.
This is Iowa's news leader. This is KCCI 8 News Close Up.
Good morning and welcome to KCCI 8 News Close Up. I'm Chief Political Reporter Amanda Rooker.
And I'm Chief Investigative Reporter James Stratton. Vice President Kamala Harris visited Des Moines last Thursday. Her first visit here to the Hawkeye State since running for election in 2020.
And she hosted a roundtable at Grandview University on protecting abortion access. Her visit just one day after a federal judge in Texas heard a case requesting he block access to a commonly used FDA-approved abortion pill.
We have this conversation in the context of an action by the highest court in our land last year, the United States Supreme Court, where the United States Supreme Court took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the people of America, from the women of America. And what we have seen then is, sadly, what we predicted would happen in the months that have followed that decision, where people around our country are concerned, afraid, confused, desperate, in many ways feeling very alone in terms of what are their options and what are their rights. Since that decision came down from the court, and even before, we have seen states in the United States of America that have been proposing or passing laws that would criminalize healthcare providers. Literally, laws that provide jail time for a doctor or a nurse who does what they took an oath to do, which is to treat their patients in a way they believe is in the best interest of their patients. We have seen what I would consider and do consider as a former prosecutor to be an immoral approach to survivors of rape or incest, where in states there is even no exception after an individual has survived such an act of violation to their body, and then by their state being deprived of the ability after that to make other decisions about their body. It's immoral. And let's be clear, on this issue, one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government should not be telling her or any individual what to do with their body. Let them make that decision if they choose with their priest, with their pastor, with their rabbi, with whomever. But the government should not be telling her what to do with her own body. So this is the issue that we are discussing. In the months since that decision, it has also become clear in a way that we knew then, but much more clear now. This is not only about reproductive health, this is about basic health care. Look at what we are seeing in terms of litigation that is occurring right now in Texas, where politicians are asking a court of law to undo a decision by the FDA that was made on the basis of peer review of the work of medical health professionals 20 years ago that deemed a particular medication, mifepristone, to be safe. And I'd ask anyone that when you're thinking about what this might mean For context, look in your medicine cabinet. Because what a doctor has prescribed to you, likely to help with issues that are with chemotherapy drugs or asthma or blood pressure pills or insulin, that medication your doctor has prescribed probably was able to be prescribed because the FDA approved it through a scientific and medical analysis. So let us understand the significance of this challenge to an FDA decision and why, as a perfect example of this point, we should all understand that these attacks go beyond reproductive health. And that is where we find ourselves at this moment in time in our country. We also know that Iowa is on the front line in this fight. Not unlike the United States as a whole. In Iowa, the leaders at this table know, the latest numbers tell us 61% of Iowans, the majority of Iowans, do not support these attacks on reproductive rights. What we know in Iowa is that there is an attorney general who has joined attorneys general around the country who are asking the court to overturn an FDA-approved medication, mifepristone. There are attorneys general around the country, including here, who are attempting to tell pharmacies to not dispense abortion medication in the state. At the core of these issues is a foundational issue for our country, and it is the principle that we are founded on, which says that we each are entitled to freedom and liberty in its most basic manifestation. And is this not about freedom and liberty? The ability to make these decisions about one's own life. And so I would say to extremist so-called leaders who purport and profess to hail themselves as a beacon of freedom and opportunity, it is important to understand what freedom and opportunity means to real people every day, which calls into question whether we're all on the same page about what freedom means.
The vice president's visit came the same day Des Moines hosted the first round of the NCAA men's basketball tournament.
Harris was there for her alma mater, Howard University. She took in the second half of the Kansas-Howard game, spoke to the team as well in the locker room after their defeat to the reigning champs. Still to come for us on Close Up, former President Donald Trump also returns to the Hawkeye State. What he said during his first trip here since announcing his re-election bid.
And Senator Joni Ernst meets with many of the current and potential GOP presidential candidates, the issues she thinks are important to Republican caucus goers.
Monday, former President Donald Trump made his first campaign stop in the Hawkeye State since announcing his re-election bid.
And that visit came as an Iowa poll showed Trump leading all other Republicans in the race.
But it also showed his support may be weakening. 47% of Republican voters said they would definitely vote for former President Trump, down from 69% who said they would vote for him back in June. We were there in Davenport, eastern Iowa, for the former president's campaign stop, where he started by showing his support for the First in the Nation Iowa caucus.
I wish we could have gotten everybody in. You have to see outside. There's so many people want to get in. You're so lucky. You're so lucky. We're going to have a good time together. It's great to be in Davenport. I come back to Davenport all the time. It's been really good to us. We won, we won this wonderful state. This is the greatest. We won Iowa twice. We won Iowa twice. And unfortunately, we're going to have to do it a third time because something happened the second time. Nobody knows what that is. But we're going to do it a third time. But I just want to thank all of the great people of Iowa. I'm proud to be the home of the First in the Nation caucuses. And we kept it that way, Kim, didn't we? We kept it that way. As president, I fought hard and won to protect Iowa's First in the Nation status in the Republican Party. A lot of people called me about it, including your governor, and I said, we're doing it. That's where it's going to be. It's where it's going to be for a long time. As long as I'm around, I'm telling you, it's going to be. The Democrats did it a little bit differently, didn't they? They chose a different order. We put workers first, we put farmers first, and above all, we put America first. We put America first. In our 4 incredible years, and they were incredible years, we achieved more for Iowa than any president in American history. It's not even a contest. And in particular, the farmers, they know better than anybody, working hand in hand with Iowa's leaders. I was the most pro-farmer president that has ever been in the White House by far. I was rated that by everybody because I appreciate the farmers. I know how smart they are, how good they are, and how hard they work. Nobody in history did more for farmers of our country, the great farmers, than I did. To protect family farms, I virtually eliminated the unfair estate tax or death tax. You know, remember I used to say, look, I'm trying to get this passed. I don't know if I can get it. But if I do, if you love your children, you can leave your farm to your kids. If you don't love it, you don't have to worry about tax. No tax! They call it a death tax. That's not a nice word, but, very appropriate. If you don't like your kids that much, or if you don't like them at all, which happens on occasion, don't leave them a thing. We got more votes than any sitting president in history by a lot, by millions. We got 75 million votes. More. That's what they report. They say the other guy got 80. I don't think so. He did one hell of a job from his basement. But that's what it is. It's a very sad situation. In total, I successfully negotiated and renegotiated more than 50 agreements to boost farm exports by more than $60 billion, supporting millions and millions of American jobs. I did things that nobody thought was possible. Even Kim said it's going to be tough. But we did things that nobody thought was possible. And we made the farming business great. Made it great again, if you think about it. Now it's slipping away a little bit, but we'll get that back real fast. But so I said, and I saved ethanol, which is a big thing for Iowa and farmers, but a big thing for Iowa in particular. And I said, so how the hell would I lose Iowa? How is that possible? And then I got a poll the other day that was, we're way up. I can tell you, Jeff, we're way up, and I think we're going to do fantastically here. It's been a great state. Great people. But I made those promises to the people of Iowa and America, and I kept every single one of my promises. Okay, so remember this. Ron DeSantis. Did anyone ever hear of DeSantis? The sanctimonious DeSantis. No, Ron DeSantis strongly opposed ethanol. Do you know that? And we don't even know if he's running, but I might as well tell you. If he's not running, I'll say, he was fine on ethanol, don't worry about it. He strongly opposed ethanol and fought against it at every turn, and he's going to do that again because people that come out early for something, that's where they go. That's what it is. So, he may do something politically, but he was very, very bad on ethanol. He fought it all the way, and he also fought against Social Security. He wanted to decimate it and voted against it 3 times. Voted against Social Security. That's a bad one. A lot of people don't know that, but I think they've been finding out over the last 4 weeks. One of the reasons that we're zooming in the polls, perhaps. Maybe that's one. Maybe it's other things, too. It's really based on what we've done, I think. And on Social Security, well, we're at it. He wanted the minimum retirement age to be lifted to people that are 70 years old, a substantial increase over what it is right now. That's a big increase. And he also voted to severely cut Medicare. I will not be cutting Medicare, and I will not be cutting Social Security. We're leaving the age where it is. But you have to remember, Ron was a disciple of Paul Ryan, who is a rhino loser who currently is destroying Fox and would constantly vote against entitlements. He would just vote against. Remember that, the wheelchair over the cliffs, the Democrats used it. The wheelchair over the cliff commercial, very effective. That was about him. But Paul Ryan's a big reason that Mitt Romney, I'm not a big fan of Mitt Romney, lost his election. And to be honest with you, Ron reminds me a lot of Mitt Romney.
Still to come on Close Up, support for the war in Ukraine dividing Republicans. What effect Iowa Senator Joni Ernst says the divide could have on the presidential race. Welcome back to Close Up. Over the past several weeks, Iowa Senator Joni Ernst has been holding public meetings with presidential candidates to discuss foreign policy, most recently with former Vice President Mike Pence. Senator Ernst, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda.
Well, Senator, when we're looking at a potentially crowded 2024 field, looking at this race for the White House, what is your role as the senator from Iowa, the senator of a state that winnows down that crowded field?
Well, I see my role as welcoming all of those presidential hopefuls, those potential candidates into the state, and introducing them to the people of Iowa. I think it's so great that we have such a deep bench, a lot of talent that exists within the Republican Party, and I am so happy to bring them all into Iowa and welcome them.
You have a unique perspective. You know most of the candidates that are running or looking at running. I'm curious about your perspective on the Republican Party right now. We have some candidates that want a Republican back in the White House that's part of the Trump era. We have some candidates that are looking for a more moderate Republican. What do you think Iowans want? Do you think Iowans want someone that's more far right or more in the middle?
I think Iowans are going to look at the candidates because obviously any of those presidential hopefuls are going to bring very different perspectives, different life stories, different accomplishments to the table. And I think Iowans are really good at looking at the whole person, regardless of whether maybe they served in one presidential administration or served in the Senate or was a governor. We've got the gamut out there vying for this position. But I think Iowans, they're reasonable, they're balanced, they really enjoy hearing from these candidates, and they're going to take a look holistically at all of these incredible leaders.
So you think Iowa Republicans are keeping an open mind?
I think they are keeping an open mind. You will see that many of them already have their favorites in the race, but they do keep an open mind. And again, I think they just really enjoy hearing from the talent that we have in our party.
Now, another thing I want to talk to you about is foreign policy. It may be a big point of interest in this upcoming election, but specifically on the war in Ukraine. You have been a longstanding supporter of saying that the U.S. needs to continue supporting Ukraine, but we're seeing a divide in the Republican Party over this. Trump has made clear his isolationist stance. Most recently, DeSantis joined that. He said that just last week, he said that protecting Ukraine is not a vital national interest for America. I'm curious, how do you see that division impacting the race for the Republican nomination and impacting the future of the Republican Party?
Well, again, there are a lot of varying voices within the Republican Party when it comes to foreign policy and specifically what's going on with the war in Ukraine. And Iowans are going to listen to all of those different voices. I think it is incredibly important to continue supporting Ukraine because it does play into our national security interests. We have many interests. I know domestically we want to look at our southern border and we should be securing our southern border. We do need to pay attention to Russia, China, Iran, and I simply don't want to live in a world that's dominated by those adversaries, China, Russia, and Iran. The United States does not win when we have those authoritarian regimes moving into places like Europe, South America, Africa, the rest of Asia. We do have to maintain a presence out there. And by aiding the Ukrainians, we're able to push back on the Russians and the Chinese.
Quickly, also on 2024, do you plan to make an endorsement at some point before the caucuses?
No, I don't. And I know this is a long time pact that many of us as leaders in Iowa have had. I know that Governor Reynolds, Chuck Grassley, and I have all said we would remain neutral because we still want to be that first in the nation caucus state for Republicans. And we want to welcome everyone into the state and allow Iowans the opportunity to choose who they think our next president should be.
Turning now to a different topic, I want to talk to you a little bit about recent updates on the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Recently, there was new footage released that show what looks to be an evacuation of your colleague, Senator Chuck Grassley, and a potentially very close brush with the first wave of rioters. I'm wondering if you've seen that and your reaction to that footage.
You know, I have not seen the footage with Senator Grassley, but when we all were evacuated, and Chuck was the president pro tem at that time, so he was evacuated as one of the first out of the chamber. When the rest of us were evacuated, we did come very close to a number of those rioters. The Capitol Police held them off with their SWAT gear and their shields. So it was tense. It was very tense. It was a very dark day. I hope we never, ever, ever again see anything like that.
Now, besides January 6th and talking about all of these, your role in 2024, you also have a very important role in Congress, serving as a senator. You're a ranking member on the Senate Small Business Committee.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your work with small businesses.
Thank you. I am so excited about this. The Small Business Committee is extremely important to Iowans, all of our wonderful entrepreneurs and small business owners. One of my priorities, obviously, is to get big government off the backs of small business. Oftentimes I hear from small business owners here in the state that they're being over-regulated, and the regulations are very, very burdensome, and it hinders their ability to not just survive, but to thrive. So we want to take a look at that and make sure that we're doing the right thing for small business, and I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to influence that.
Very quickly, we're looking to see the next iteration of the Farm Bill.
Yes.
What can we expect very quickly to see in that?
Well, again, Iowa's blessed. Both Senator Grassley and I serve on the Senate Ag Committee. We're going to focus a lot on what is right for the farmers, whether it is lowering costs for our farmers, engaging in our conservation, and then also making sure that crop insurance is still there. It is so important to our farmers.
Wonderful. Well, Senator, thanks for joining us. We'll be right back.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of KCCI 8 News Close Up.
We'll see you right back here next Sunday. Have a great day.